Good afternoon. This is Rubbing Minds. Welcome. My name is Ebuka Obiuchi, and welcome to another celebration of women. Still celebrating International Women's Month. Another amazing lineup of women today will be on the show, giving you their perspective on, the month, and of course, women's issues. And of course, Vimbai is here with me once again to take and steer the ship.
Yep, certainly. What a month it's been. Thank you so much for being gracious with the hosting responsibilities for the month. And I think we've unearthed so many great conversations so far, touched on so many topics. But today for me is an absolute highlight. Because first of all, it's not often you get to get into the head of the wife of a leader. And then also, it's not often you get to tap into the thoughts of, some of the iconic female politicians who've been through the election process, the grueling election process. So,
that's very important.
I think I've let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah, because women in politics in Nigeria is still something that's not the norm. And democracy is over 20 years now in Nigeria at a stretch. So I'm excited to hear what they have to say.
Yep, that's right.
So sit back, relax, and we'll be right back. And Vimbai will be here with our special guests.
This is a Rubbing Minds special for International Women's Month, powered by Lipton.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've had an incredible month of March. Of course, it is International Women's Month. And here on Rubbing Minds, we've been running a special powered by Lipton, where we've been focusing on conversations with inspirational, prolific, pioneering, and of course, inspirational women. And today is no different, as we are joined by Her Excellency, the wife of the Kaduna State Governor. That's Hajiyya Aisha Ummi Garba El-Rufai. Hello, and how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm absolutely great. So we're going to dig into these conversations. We're going to be looking at girl-child rights, gender roles, education, and of course, Kadinap as well. But the theme for International Women's Month this year globally is I Am Generation Equality. Now, what does this mean to you?
I have understood it to be advancing gender equality. I've understood it to be protecting the rights of women. It's about making sure that, we've been going on and on about ensuring and protecting women's rights. It's about equal pay. It's about, the unpaid care that both genders receive. It's about sharing responsibilities, even if at home. It's about making sure that a woman is not being treated any differently based on her gender. It's about protecting the woman and raising her status. So it's a lot of things, but at the end of the day, at the core of it is ensuring that the woman in any way and every way is not oppressed, is not suppressed, and she has, a fair chance to do whatever she wants to do in this sphere of things.
And, when we speak of a fair chance, you mentioned so many indices, that we use to measure where we are on this journey, fighting for women's rights. And a massive one, of course, is access to education. And we see, access to education is, and the technology around it and so forth, is changing rapidly. But, specifically when we look towards the north, what are some of the considerations that can be made when we're looking at the security of young girls who are trying to access education in the north?
So for me, the key to security itself is education. The girl child needs to be educated. And so for that to happen, she has to be safe. The education teaches her how to protect herself, how to use her voice, how to know exactly what she wants, to plan for herself, to make decisions, to be involved in policy making and political decisions and participation in politics and things like that. So within that space of girls going to school, girls need to be protected. Their physical safety, their mental safety, it means that starting from the home, girls should be protected, abuse should not be made, from family members to neighbors to anybody around. So it's first of all the parents or guardians of the girl child that need to protect her. They need to teach her how to say no to certain touches that could lead to abuse or violation.
I'm glad you're bringing the conversation into the family unit because, you know, one of the things that we find we're struggling with is sort of the cultural nuance around which conversations can we have with our parents, and parents are wondering which conversations can they have with their children. Yes. You know, how can we push this forward to say, yes, we respect our culture, we love our culture, however, wrong is wrong?
Absolutely. I think parents need to understand, I respect culture. I'm deep-rooted in my culture. But I also know that, you know, there has to be a point where I have to decide which is a bigger priority. Ensuring the safety of my child or sticking to a culture that's probably outdated. I mean, these cultures keep changing. They're not written or cast in stone. And for as long as you're not doing anything indecent that, you know, challenges or abuses the culture, then there's nothing wrong with going out of that space and zone to ensure that your child is well taught. I'll give you an example. In the North, most mothers don't find it appropriate to discuss even the menstrual cycle with their daughters. Then how do you teach your child, you know, the menstrual hygiene, adolescent, you know, health and things like that?
Basic biology, you know, it's going to happen.
It's very basic. You have to, you know, go outside the culture of this is a no-go area. Parents cannot discuss this. If you don't discuss these things with your children, then somebody else will abuse them because they are not sure of this, you know, this space and territory that you're shielding them from. Another thing is sex education. Parents find it difficult to discuss sex with their children, and it's so wrong. If you do not make them open up to you about sex, I'm not saying teach your children to have, you know,
but just to understand.
But they should understand what sex is.
Yeah.
They should understand the consequences of having premarital sex, for instance. If you're not open about it with them, then it becomes an issue eventually. If you're not open about sex with your kids, then how do you know if they're abused? They can't open up to you to tell you somebody has touched me inappropriately. So we need to put culture aside, you know, and make sure that the priority is protecting the children from, you know, all angles.
And, you know, having said that, in a country that we love so much because it's so rich in culture, that's Nigeria, how would you rate how far we've come with women's rights and the rights of the girl child here in Nigeria?
I like the efforts being made. Let me be neutral. I like the efforts being made. I mean, now we have more ministers in the cabinet. Kaduna State has about half of the number of commissioners being women. We have a deputy governor being a woman. I mean, Plateau had done that. So efforts are being made, you know, to reduce these challenges, to uplift the status and rights of women. Unfortunately, it's still a male-dominated system. It's still a male-dominated society. So a lot more has to be done. From our men understanding the need to let women, you know, rise to their rightful statuses, to the governments, you know, absorbing more women into the system. I think a lot more can be made, but I like the efforts that have been made so far. It means we're on the right track and we can eventually get there. As much as the women are aware that they need to be more vocal and more active and participatory in matters concerning them, the society needs to accept this fact. A lot of times, especially in the North, I'll speak from, you know, what I see, yes. Our society sort of still stigmatizes or condemns women who try to be themselves. And I'm not saying that these women are doing it in an indecent way, but automatically if a woman is vocal and she knows her rights and she knows exactly what she wants and, you know, she makes a space for herself, then she's, you know, she's being tagged to indecency and a lot of times it's so unfair that men tend to think, you know, a successful northern woman is probably sleeping around or she's, you know, these sort of things, or they say she's going outside what our religion says. Now, if they dig deeper into the religion, we had vocal women from way back. So the society needs to stop this stigmatization and suppression of women who try to, make a space for themselves. The society needs to accept them. And I think the women also need to understand that it's not just about fighting for your rights. You have to internally understand the need to do something with these rights. It's not just about, oh, I'm free today, or I can do what I want now, I'm a woman, everyone has fought for my rights. What do you want to do with those rights to make sure that we have a better society? It's very important to understand exactly what you need to do to have an impact on everyone as much as you can. So I think these are a few things that we need to look at.
And I love that you're using your voice, for the Kaduna Emergency Nutrition Action Plan, something that you've decided to back, which is, a campaign to end malnutrition. But, questions around that. Can we really end malnutrition in our current economic climate? You have so many homes, so much of the population living well below the poverty line. How do we address just basic bread and butter needs?
For me, as much as, unfortunately, malnutrition and poverty are connected, because if you're economically empowered, you can rise above the issues of malnutrition. It's a huge possibility.
You can make choices.
Yes. Yeah. At the same time, I would like to think they're also independent of each other, because no matter your level of poverty, you still eat at the end of the day. What you eat and the nutritious requirement and content of what you eat is what at the end of the day mostly affects your malnutrition or nutrition status. So as much as, yes, poverty affects malnutrition or can be a cause of malnutrition, you can actually handle malnutrition despite poverty. Knowing what to eat is the most important thing. Even if you can only afford one meal in a day, knowing what to put together to get a nutritious meal is the most important thing. Of course, Kadinap, we are involved in interventions that ensure we reduce malnutrition to the barest minimum. We cannot completely eradicate malnutrition. I would be overambitious to insist that.
I suppose it is
yes,
I believe it's
I
one
would
of
be
the
overambitious to
development
insist,
goals,
but I think we can make it become almost, inconsequential in our lives. Our first focus with Kadinap is to make sure that children under the age of 5 who are severely malnourished are saved from the death zone. Because we have children dying from malnutrition.
How do we ensure that children are born children? Children aren't aware that I was born female or I was born male when it comes to opportunities, education, access to resources, and so forth. Of course, it all starts with us, but how do we take our actions to impact broader beyond our family units?
I believe it starts with the parents. How we raise our children, from differentiating between toys for boys, toys for girls, chores, house chores for boys, house chores for girls. I'm a Muslim. I know that, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did house chores for his family. I've seen the picture of President Obama washing dishes, and I respect that so much. But most of our societies raise boys in such a way that they relax, they're at home, they're kings, the girls do all the hard work, and they do something else. So I think it starts from the parents. Teach your children equality. Do not, if you want to give pocket monies to your children, treat them equally. There's no boy or girl or difference in it. The way you consciously raise them is the way they grow, with whether or not with these differences. So if a girl wants to be involved in physical activities that are vigorous, let her be. If she's got the interest for that, let's teach them all the need to care for a sibling. If your sibling is sick, it's not just the girl that should care for a sick sibling, and and things like that. I think, and taking the responsibilities, the boys shouldn't be made to think they're the breadwinners of the family, so they have to do certain things because they're supposed to be responsible for the family at some point. No. Your children should all learn to be independent, to be responsible, to be caring human beings at the end of the day.
What do you think is the biggest misconception of your role?
As the wife of a leader?
Yes.
For me, the biggest misconception is that the wife of a leader is rich, has more money or more wealth because she's the wife of a leader. I'll speak for myself. Our lives were better off before my husband became a leader, really, financially, yes. Because, he's had to put back half of his salary back to the state government, and we have to put checks and stops on ourselves from even being involved in economic activities as a family, because we can't be seen to be wealthier or richer than we used to be, because it would seem like we were taking state government funds, for personal use. So I think that's the biggest misconception about, the wives of leaders. Even our relatives think we're witches if they bring ridiculous demands and you tell them, oh, I don't have that kind of money. Then it becomes, she's in such a position. How can she say she cannot help? Or they think that you have more weight than you actually do. For instance, I'm merely the wife of a governor. I'm not undermining that role. But you can't expect to come to me and tell me to talk to a commissioner or somebody else that is working for my husband to perform miracles for you. I don't have that capacity, to do that. So these are some of the misconceptions that I've seen.
That you interact with on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you've learned how to say no.
Without feeling guilty.
Without feeling bad.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't expect that. I didn't see that one coming, but it's certainly some food for thought. And,
Yes.
Our time is fast spent, but before we go, I know there's young women and also, older women who are watching from across Nigeria and, viewers across the diaspora who would love to hear a message from you. Just some final words as we continue to use this month of March to explore ways that we can further the rights of women and the girl child.
My message is more a request to young girls, to women in general. We need to understand how relevant our role is in our homes, in our societies, in the world. The fight for our rights is the first step to being able to have the opportunity to make things better. There's so many things going wrong. Violence around the world. If we make conscious efforts to raise children that understand the need to shun violence, to shun religious differences, color differences, ethnic differences, ethnicity, and issues like that, this would go a long way in ensuring a better society. So let's understand the need to consciously bring about the change that everybody is thirsty for. We can only do that if we internalize and understand the need to be better people, to have integrity, to be honest, to understand these things ourselves, and then we can be able to teach our children and then spread it around the community. Please, my request is to make sure that the fight for our rights does not go to waste. It's one thing to want the rights or to fight for them, but what do we do with them? How positively can we channel those rights to make our societies better? It's something we all need to come together and think about. And I need us to get together to turn into a lie something that has been going around about women being their own enemies. Let's learn to raise each other up, to stand by each other and to support each other at all times. Thank you.
Beautiful. There you have it. We're going to take a very quick intermission. When we return, plenty more power-packed conversations.
This is a Rubbing Minds special for International Women's Month, powered by Lipton.